All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
All right, first and foremost, we have to give all the praises, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh,
Power,
Ba'ashem,
Bashim,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Ba'ashem,
Bashim,
Ruka Kadash.
Rakasha.
All right, double honors and respect to our apostles and elders, the great millstone, who rule and taught us His truth. Peace and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect in the 1/3, your brother Salah.
Yo, what's up, bro?
All right, and today's lesson is it's gonna be an update on World War III, man. So as you see right here, so let me scroll through it. So UK ready to go to war with China. Excuse me, really, for Taiwan. That's what the video is titled by Mafuz Talakadir. The video's right here. If your brothers want to look at it. But basically, right, this Elamite, before we play, he talks about, UK playing to make threats, to China, take Taiwan or whatever. But we know that what's it called, Esau's on the decline, man, and not just Babylon the Great, but other countries, man, the 10 horns, man. Man, speaking of the beast, right? It's not as powerful as it used to be, right? Right. And so the UK, right? Those Edomites up there, man. They're making the bold statement that they can take China. We know that China, it wasn't as weak as it used to be. Look back like 3 decades ago, right? Right, because they industrialized, they caught up with their technology, their weaponry and resources and everything, man. Which was all ordained by the Lord, right? Right, for his purpose, for what, that third woe, you know. So before we play the video, we're gonna start out with the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 4, starting at verse 14. It says here, "The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly, and the seventh angel sounded, and there was a great and there were great voices in heaven saying, The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord Yahweh, and his Hamashiach, and shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before Yahweh on their seats fell upon their faces and worshipped Yahweh, saying, We give thanks, O Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Almighty, which art and was and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and to them that fear the name, small and great, that shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of Yahweh was open in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and earthquakes and great hail. And yeah, man, all these things are about to come real soon, man. As you see right now, man, this third world woe is coming quickly, man. Lord willing, man, we're gonna see things pop off, but by the next year, man, maybe in the next few months. By the
Yeah,
Lord's will.
and I was gonna say something, like the Lord can really speed things up. So if Joachim out there don't think that he can't speed things up in a matter of a few weeks, he can make years. What would happen in years go by in a matter of weeks or even days. So that's why you always have to be on point.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Let's get that precept out. He's speeding up the time for the elect's sake, or shortening the days. Short.
Yeah, and I have a preset right after. I'm gonna put in the chat.
All right, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 24. Actually, let's get this in the blue letter. Salakia. All right, and this is Yahweh Shai speaking in the red letter. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 22, and it says here, "Except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, except for the elect's sake. Those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, there is a Mashiach, or there, believe it not, for for there shall arise false Hamashiachs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they should deceive the very elect. But you know what, Lord willing, if we be part of that, we're not gonna be deceived, right? We see all all these things coming to pass, right? Esau's MOTB, Esau's great deception, for with his AI. The Lord is gonna provide that, provide us, with that discernment. If we do our best, to follow the Lord Yahweh Shem Al Shai, man, and keep His commandments to the best of our ability. Not saying keeping the law will save us, but it's through faith, right? And I'm reading these precepts, by the brothers Yahusap, the brothers Sarah. It says here, this is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 36. And it says here, watch ye therefore and pray always that ye may be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. Yeah, that's right, man. Staying up in prayers, again, keeping that faith, by, by walking the straight and narrow, right, which is the whole word of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, This is the book of Second Peter, chapter 1, verse 10. It says here, wherefore rather, but brethren, give diligence to make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fail. Oh, and that's right, man. And that's us brothers. In the faith. We do these lessons day in, day out. And go to camp. To the best of our ability, right? When we pray, man, that hopefully, the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, saves us. That's our hope. That's our faith. For that deliverance. From that great day of wrath, right? So
And
yeah, go ahead, brother.
I was gonna say, just like you said, we go out and we do camp and we do videos, and that is our reasonable service. I mean, that's just a require one of the requirements. Like we do that because we have faith. Because if we really sincerely believed in this and we had the gift of being able to understand the prophecies and given the power of these names that's been hidden from the rest of the world, we would be going out and we would be telling other people about it and trying to fish for the elect. We wouldn't be sitting here hiding our talents in a napkin. Like a lot of these people out there that they find out and then they're just those people that they're bench warmers, really. They're wallflowers. And I have a precept. This is the book of Romans 12:1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service.
That's right, brother. So us brothers out there that do know this truth, man. We gotta do our due diligence, man. And and aside from watching these videos, and studying, man. If the Lord puts a spirit on you, man, go out and teach, because because the Lord needs laborers, man. Man, not just fucking. Oh, excuse my language, but I'm not just. Oh, I'm gonna sit here, man. I'm just gonna believe and hope I'm gonna be 1/3 or whatever. Like, no, man, you gotta do the work.
Yeah, and why not strive for mastery, just like you would strive to become better in a sport, or you would become better in a certain hobby or whatever. Because not everybody that has most people that have hobbies, they're not trying to stay stagnant. This is not anything like a hobby. This is not anything like some corruptible, fleshly passion and lust. This is the real deal. So you would be going out and doing the best that you can. If you're not ready to do particularly camp outside you're not seasoned and prepared, because there's preparation that needs to take place. Do lessons. Strengthen yourself up, and just do the best that you can, man. Ultimately, the Lord sees the efforts for each individual, um, you know, person that's following Him. He sees your efforts, but He wants to make sure you got to be doing something. You got to be doing something at the end of the day. And I have a precept, Doc, if I could just bring this out really quick.
Go ahead, brother.
This book of Second Peter 1:10. Wherefore the rather, brethren, give diligence and make your calling and election sure. For if ye do these things, ye shall never fall. So if we do this, if we make our calling and election sure, and we're diligent, that's the key. Diligent in faith, we're not going to fall, man. Who that trusted in the Lord was confounded. We have trust. We have to have trust in the Lord. We have to give diligence to the Lord. You know. Because otherwise, if we don't, we're gonna fall in this wicked world. If we don't have the Lord, backing us up. Yahweh Shemi Shai.
Mhm. I got a precept for what you said because Yahweh Shah, he actually was speaking on that. So I remember that scripture where he was like, the people they gonna need to fast when he's gone. I think that's in Matthew.
Yeah,
Uh,
like they don't you can fast. I'm when I'm here, you don't have to, don't fast because I'm here. But when I'm gone, is that the one you're
uh,
talking about?
let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me find it. I gotta
See if
find
you
it.
can find it. But the brother Saylock, I guess, can continue,
Yeah,
right?
go ahead. Go ahead.
What? Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that's pretty much it on my part. Before I play the video, man. But yeah, what I was gonna say, like, 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 like. Like the brother House Hop said, this isn't some hobby. This isn't something that we push off to the side. So whatever. No, man. This is us, fighting for our salvation, man. For the kingdom. To get to get that glory in the first go around, man. To reign with Yahweh Shai, man.
Yeah.
And be part of that new governing body, which Lord willing, hopefully, the Lord chooses us, man, because remember these spirits, they were predestined, they were preordained from the very beginning, right? They had this testament, before in the ancient world, man.
And
And
I got the precept.
okay, yeah,
Uh, but I don't know.
bring
The
it out.
precepts keep popping up in my mind, bro. Cause I believe Apostle Paul was speaking on that. How he said he chose us from the beginning, chosen us from the beginning. Uh,
Yeah, and I have something to say after you bring that
all
precept
right.
that you have lined up. I have something.
Uh, Ephesians 1:4, it says, according that he has chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. Then we have Mark, Mark 2:20, it says, but the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and then shall they fast in those days. Yeah, it's so much precepts on that, but yeah, man, we got to walk circumspect and walk in the spirit, and it's not hard, bro. It's literally the spirit versus the flesh, and it fights daily. It's a daily battle. So,
Once you put your spirit into you're in control of your spirit, everything else flows, man. Everything else
uh,
flows as long as you're following the proper doctrine and you're sincere. Because you know when you could be doing more work. Akim out there, you know when you could be doing. I'm speaking for myself here. You know when you're distracted. You know when you're on the phone a little bit too much than what you should be, meddling in bullshit. And ultimately, the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, there's billions of people in the world, billions of Israelites, and he called you to understand this. Okay, you didn't come stumbling in it on your own. He formed you in the womb. It talks about that in Jeremiah. So he knows that at this point in time, this was going to happen, and this was going to happen to lead you where you are now and to find him. Okay, and you stumbled upon the treasure, but if you choose to neglect, the gift that you've been given, when you choose to, walk away, then you're a fool. You're an absolute fool. Okay, you're a fool. And it talks about it in and I want to bring this out really quick. This is First Peter, royal priesthood. Um, let me see. This is the book of First Peter 2:9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praises of him who hath called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light. So you're supposed to go out and give, praises and exalt the name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, for all those across the four corners of the earth can hear. The speckled birds, the Israelite foreigners that have been scattered amongst these nations. That you need to go and shew forth praises of him and
and
speak.
Salakia, but I'm about to say, that's crazy you say that because IUIC, in their mind, they believe that they have to go to the goddamn borders of Nigeria, the borders of the UK, the borders of New Mexico. But I believe the brother Barath is about GMS South Carolina. He did that. He did a video on like And he did the video yesterday about like Judah. Really, he was saying really the Southern Kingdom gonna wake up first and wake up the rest of the tribes. Like, because if somebody was doing the video on like why is it not a great awakening with the Northern Kingdom? But the brother GMS South Carolina, he was saying how like the awakening really gonna start with Judah, and really the Southern Kingdom first, and then everybody else will surely be they gonna be awakened. And there's many precepts on that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like you know, you just gotta go at it and give diligence. It's all really about diligence and faith and trust. You gotta really believe in this, and sometimes demons will try to get you to question yourself. Let's not forget that, guys. Let's not forget that there's demons that will literally hop on you one day and to question you. Do I really think am I meant for this? Could I be one of the elect, or am I just doing this for no reason? Or am I an Israelite? You don't think that has happened to many brothers, many Israelite foreigners, especially. They question themselves. They have demons around them that say, "You're not an Israelite. You're not an Israelite." Just a bunch of different things, man. There's so much shit, But the fact that we're still here and we're still pushing, that's a testament of faith in and of itself. That's why we got to continue to keep going hard, man, all the
And
time.
the
You
Rakaku
know,
die.
because
Hey,
at
I
the end
got
of
a
the day,
precept for you.
yeah. I was gonna say, just before you do that, I was gonna say, because at the end of the day, we were chosen, man, by Him. He chose us. We didn't choose Him. We didn't decide, oh, I'm gonna start. No, He chose us. Okay, whatever way He did that, He did that, but He chose us, not the other way around.
Con, exactly.
Yeah, you bring that
I,
out.
I, was- I was gonna go to Zechariah 12:7. It says, "The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah." So, brother, is that basically saying like Southern Kingdom will wake up, like be the the first ones to wake up, or mainly the first ones to wake up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
push this truth?
yeah, Salakia. I was gonna say, yeah. That's correct, man. Yeah, when it says the other tribes will not magnify against Judah, is because we know Judah's the head tribe, right? Right. Judah's the
Yeah.
lawgiver, as it says in the book of Genesis, right? So they're the ones that they're gonna receive this truth first, and then once the house of Judah wakes up, all 12 tribes, man, they're gonna follow suit, man. And mainly here in Babylon and wherever they're scattered to, man. The elect, that multitude that John saw in the vision pertaining to the book of Revelation, right?
Con,
That's right. So, all right. So before we continue on, we play the video. We're gonna read this last precept. This is the book, and this is the book of Galatians, chapter 5, starting at verse 16. It says here, "This I say then: walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the lust of the flesh against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary to one another, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. But if ye be led of the spirit, ye are not under the law." So basically, as the brother Yahushua was saying, man, if we do our best, to stay in the spirit, right? We can have that focus, man. We can have that faith, because because we're following the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. If you can get this, man. Yeah, and if you can, yeah, if you can understand this, man, yeah, and if you look like a so-called heathen or whatever, but you understand this word, right? Right, you most likely might be an Israelite, pertaining to Romans chapter 8 verse 16. For the Spirit beareth witness that we are the children of Yahweh Bashim Shai, roughly paraphrasing.
And the spirit is what really you got to believe it. You got to believe what I'm an Israelite, because most of the world hears that and they think of the so-called people that are there right now, and they don't even understand it. They can't even break that apart, that understanding that we're the true chosen people. But most of the world is starting to find that out. But going back to what the brother was saying, it's like the spirit. If you take your spirit into control and you have your flesh, you do your best to resist the flesh, and we're always warring. It's that daily battle. So you got to make things very simple. Don't try to overdo things. Keep it to the basics. Get that spirit in check first over anything, and everything
con,
else will flow in the day. That vibration, and that really is what resists the distractions and demons around you, because you got these demonic thoughts every day that come to you, man. They just pop up. You be thinking shit that's not of the spirit, and you got to understand that there's demons constantly warring to try to like literally destroy your mind, rape your mind. All right,
Um,
and that's why we always bring out that Ephesians 6 and 12, because you got to go back to that and really like to understand that, back to the basics. Understand that we're not wrestling just against people, man. We're wrestling against spirits and principalities that try to screw you over and throw you off this path, man. They want to see you die. They want to see you get destroyed, utterly destroyed, with those other 2/3. But you know what? That's why you gotta. That's why you gotta really keep pushing, man. Keep pushing, man. Fuck all these other people, man, and what they think. Fuck them, bro. I don't even get. I don't even care. You know, I don't even care how I'm speaking, yo. Fuck them, man. If they're trying to get you in the way of the truth, man, fuck them.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah. That's right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Roughly paraphrase. As the scripture says, the enemy is the enemy is going to be in a man's household. Be his own fold. Roughly paraphrasing. So like even our own family members are going to come against us. Which they have, and I know you brothers that that started learning this truth, man. You've probably experienced that too, right? So
no.
we just gotta keep enduring and keep continuing in the faith, man.
If I may mention one quick thing, to the brothers that because when you first come in this, man, you're zealous. You want to post about it. You want to let your friends and immediate family and people around you know, yo, you're an Israelite. But you realize sooner than later that they don't care, and the demons start to come out in them. They try to fuck with you. Those agent provocateurs, man. Those nagging demons, those annoying demons. They try to just sow seed of discord, and that's why, brothers, it's better to just not even tell these people in your like be very weary on how you deal with them, and if they have the spirit to receive it, then go ahead and proceed. But this is not meant for everybody at the end of the day, so don't expect your whole family to come along and be. That's very rare if a whole family is truly following under the right doctrine and calling upon these names in the times that we're in. It's very rare. It's very rare, let alone family members together being in this truth. So just don't be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. The book of Matthew talks about that. Be therefore wise as serpents. You got to be wise when you're dealing with these people in the world. Okay.
Uh,
All right,
I
so
had a precept after the brother.
I'll go ahead now. Saki.
I'm gonna bring it out. First Peter 5:8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. And like, what's that precept in Job where Satan was saying he was walking to and fro in the earth? And that's true, man. You got different type of spirits walking to and fro the earth to see what vessel they could hop on and fuck with, and who mind they could hop in and corrupt, you know. And people like them 2/3 Jakes that ain't got this knowledge and wisdom and understanding is easy access for them demons, man. They could easily, especially these women, man. They could easily hop on these women, and especially the Judah woman, Judite woman, man. She got all type of spirits on her.
Uh, all right.
Yeah, we just gotta walk circumspect.
Uh, all right. So that takes me to Job chapter 1 verse 6. It says here, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, and Satan came along with them, right? Right. So Satan is a son of God. Like Satan doesn't do things all willy nilly. Like he's an angel let loose, like rebelling against the Most High. No, he serves on the left hand side, right? He's at the left hand side of the Most High, to fulfill His will, right? The Lord
Uh,
plays both sides, man,
Yeah.
and
And,
it's
and,
all for His purposes ultimately, right? All right, so
and
yeah, so don't yeah, so lucky, so don't get the idea that Satan's some rogue entity, man. The Lord does that to test people, man, and ultimately do His will.
uh,
and you don't think he studies you? You don't think Satan studies you and watches you and brings certain people around you and agents to try to find out information about you. So if you just have all of a sudden you have a woman that you got, what's wrong with this woman right now? Something's a little off with her. You got to test her spirit. Don't think that everything's nice and dandy, and don't be surprised if he sends a woman in a fucking head wrap to try to play that righteous woman, and then next thing you know, she's a Keisha trying to vex you, and she's an agent. Because that's the way that the devil's working in these days, man. He literally studied you from when you were a child. He studied you, and he's trying to figure out little angles and little crevices that he can try to hop in to try to fuck with you, whether it's like a certain spirit that you haven't figured out in your mind, that you haven't overcome, a certain stronghold that you haven't overcome. He'll exploit that. And that's why it's very important, like the brother was saying, be sober and vigilant. And how can you be more sober? By going on a fast, man. By resisting this flesh, you hop on a fast, and you resist your flesh. You don't put stuff in your flesh. You don't constantly consume, and you have more of a clearer spirit. Fasting and prayer. What does it say? Only certain things can come out through prayer and fasting. And I don't know if you brothers wanted to bring that out, but that comes with being in the spirit, man. You got to pray and fast. Not all of us want to fast. It's annoying, man. It's annoying sometimes, but we got to do it. Because this is it. We're in these fleshly mortal bodies at the end of the day. We gotta be able to be more in the spirit, and that's a key, man. That's a key to resisting the devil.
All right, so just I think the water for that, brothers. It's lucky about that. We didn't mean to stray too far from the point, but let's get started. With the main video on World War III. So what's it called? Let me play the slide right here. The copyright stack.
The spirit is like the wind.
Yeah. The spirit is like the wind. If it had to come out, it had to come out. So.
Yeah, we have precepts in the back. Yeah, well, let's get started with that video.
All right, so disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. So with that, we're going to play this video.
So the UK says it's ready to go to war with China to defend Taiwan. First off, with what navy? With our cute little special forces, maybe. We're going to break down just how ridiculous this statement actually is and who had the bright idea of saying something so silly publicly on behalf of the United States government. A reminder to bookmark and comment and let me know where you're watching from for my motivation and to help boost this in the algorithm. Now, British Defence Secretary John Healey, not sure why I said it like that, I just woke up from a nap, bear with me. British Defence Secretary John Healey just declared that Britain would fight alongside Australia if China moves on Taiwan. First off, Australia, no guarantees. They might be like, yo, I am not interested in being the United States unsinkable flipping aircraft carrier. I'm just gonna, you leave me to my coastal cities and my outback and my kangaroos and my really giant creatures like spiders, right? Size of dinner plates are here. Incredible. Anyway. Here's what's not being told. Here's what you're not being told about the reality of the situation from Western legacy media. What the world doesn't really share, what the Western world, doesn't really share with its citizenry, especially in the UK here or in Australia, because the numbers, the facts, are so clear cut on this one.
I was gonna pause it for a second. They also don't tell the U.S. too. Because not many U.S. people know about the the geopolitical dynamics of China compared to the rest of the world, right? They want people think that America is number one or whatever Edomite nation is number one. That bull crap.
The facts, the details I'm about to share, they're hard to even put a spin on. So they're just left out quietly. When we look at the actual numbers, China's economy measures over $40 trillion using purchasing power parity, GDP triple P. The UK, 4 trillion. So that a tenth, right? So China's economy by this metric is 10 times larger than the United Kingdom's. Loads of times, the positioning, the narrative you get is, oh, the UK is such a powerful, such a big, strong, chunky country. Bro, China's 10x, and that's before they fully reached, their final form, as it were. Britain is an advanced economy, or the UK more accurately is an advanced economy. Its plateaued growth is at like between 1 and 2%, more on the 1% side, right? 1.2, 1.1% growth in GDP in the last year. China, they're aiming for 4 to 5% growth, right? This is a developing economy, right? It's not an advanced plateaued economy. So China's not even, fully there yet, and it's already 10 times the size of the UK economy. It's like comparing apples not to oranges. It's like comparing apple to many oranges. We're talking about a China being matched in scale and power, not by the UK, but only by the US. These are the two great powers of our age, the United States and China. Those are the ones to truly lead in a multipolar, specifically a bipolar world. If Europe gets its act together, becomes a sort of cohesive bloc that can be treated as one, essentially, economy, that could be a third pole. That would mean you really have a multipolar world. So the UK is essentially just one province in a joint European Union bloc. And even then, ironically, it's left the European Union. So China produces, by the way, more manufacturing value than the UK, plus the US, plus South Korea, plus Germany. Bro, I needed to add great power number 1 to that pool, chuck in Germany, South Korea, just to make it kind of even, and then still China exceeds it. Do you know how far off it is to compare the UK and China in terms of capability? China's not just another country anymore. They're an industrial superpower, essentially, with the industrial capacity to match their ambitions. Oh my God. It's like a Trump gesture now. I don't know what's happening to me. I'm slowly phasing. If you see my skin turn more orange over time, warn me in the comments. Now, both economically and militarily, in a completely fair, unbiased analysis, you can say the UK and China are not even in the same league. They're completely in different worlds. I'm not anti-UK, by the way. I'm here to give you the facts without the spin, and the facts say a statement like this, that Australia and the UK were ready to fight China. No, you're not. Shut up. Okay? Even if you're super patriotic, it's better not to be living in Delulu land, right? You better know your strengths and weaknesses, then be patriotic. When Britain talks about being ready for war, it's like watching some kid in year 6 acting tough. This is like 6th year, It's a UK phrase, okay? You'll have to translate it somehow, I don't know. But it reminded me of like some kid in year 6 that acts tough because he's got an older brother in secondary school, maybe year 10, right? This year 6 kid, as a result, puffs his chest out and acts really hard, like, oh, bro, what are you going to do? To maybe even older kids, only because man's got backup, right? His older brother. That's exactly what we're seeing here. The UK knows it has the US as its older brother, so it can make these grand statements about fighting China for brownie points, essentially. It's not actually going to end up doing anything. On the world stage, some countries will essentially hold in their laughter, looking at what the UK is saying. Others will roll their eyes. But the UK is not important enough anymore, being honest, for such a statement to be taken seriously. This isn't Pax Britannica, right? This isn't the Victorian era where the UK was, or Britain was the first to industrialize, where they had their empire upon which the sun never sets. Times have changed, right? Now we're reverse colonizing. I'm kidding. Because I'm living here in London now. I was born and raised here. But as you can see, my skin is absolutely brown. Let's be real though. What would a conflict actually look like between the UK and China? Well, China has been building the world's largest navy, developing cutting-edge hypersonic missiles, cutting-edge fighter jets, 6th generation fighter jets. They've been creating military technology that rivals, in some cases surpasses, American capabilities, and that's right at the top. China has the largest military by personnel in the world, 2 million. Britain, we have enough maybe to fill Wembley Stadium twice, if you count the whole military. Army, Navy, the whole lot of them. Watch out, China. Oh, boys are gonna, sail over and throw tea in your face, like cups of tea, like hot tea, okay? Be careful. In the end, the UK statement is a demonstration of geopolitical theatre, where an ex-great power now relegated to being a regional power tries to punch above its weight by invoking alliances, tries to act like it could act previously, right? It kind of doesn't want to let go of that previous glory and the act, and the demeanor that previous glory can afford you. It just doesn't want to let go. Similar to how the UK acts tough on Russia too, but only if the UK stands shoulder to shoulder with all its NATO allies, especially NATO and Europe. Then it's like, oh, look how tough we are, bro. You're only tough when there's 30 of you compared to just one of Russia. Russia can just stand alone. Whatever side you take, the reality is clear. The UK is talking tough while actually hiding behind American military might. And if things truly did turn ugly in the Pacific, this is the geopolitical analysis you're probably waiting for to summarize. If things turned ugly in the Pacific, i.e. there was a conflict where Australia is having to choose sides and and the US and China are at each other's throats, the UK is unlikely to be able to do much. Because war in the Pacific would mean war in the world, World War III, right? Pick out your outfits if it's your first World War. And in a World War III, the UK won't have the time to look across the Atlantic, look across the entire American continent, and then look across the Pacific. 2 oceans, literally, lol. No, they'll have to look east, not west, across everything I just listed. The UK will have to look east towards the Russian bear, who is very unlikely to all of a sudden go into hibernation if China versus US World War III pops off. The Russians aren't gonna just be like, yes, we are going to sit this one out. We are for keeping the status quo. No, bro, they're gonna be like, yo, status quo is shifting. Let me just I'm trading for this, and they'll try to do something, right? And the UK will be like, whoa, we need to work on that. That's local, right? That's Europe. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, for the sake, of course, of hundreds of millions of civilians and their lives. World War III. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. So let's hope it's just some, chest pounding by has been great power. For the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Muffles, and I'll see you on the next one. Sorry, this one was a bit.
Yeah, all right. So we're just gonna stop right there, man. So yeah, but unfortunately for you, Elam, and Esau, and the rest of you other nations, there will be a World War III as prophesied here in Revelations 11, verses 14 on down, right?
Number 3.
Yeah, man. That third war will come quickly, right? And the reason why, the UK and other Edomite countries, right? As you saw with America, before there was a new clipping of them sailing their ships. And let's see if I can find that. Yeah, here it is.
What's up, bro? Oh, yeah, what? Brandon. You just
Yeah, right here. So yeah, it says here the names of the United Kingdom, France, and Italy are planning to coordinate deployment of the aircraft carriers into the Indo-Pacific, and which at this point, man, they're basically provoking, that third world war, but man, China, along with Russia and the BRICS nations, they're just looking at the NATO powers, right, and they're just laughing at them, right, because they're Esau, man, they're not as powerful as they used to be, right. So I'm gonna bring out a couple of precepts on that. The book of Psalm 60 verse 8 says here, Moab is my washpot, over Edom I will cast out my shoe. Philistia triumph now because of me. So and basically right here, that was a prophecy that Esau, let me the Slaki, that Moab, right, would advance further than Esau, right, to help take down Esau's kingdom. Right. That's why you see all these advancements in technology, as far as Moab is concerned. With the smart AI cities, man, and it is, and the rise of his military industrial complex, and his whole what's it called? It's basically a monopoly on the supply chain of like rare earth minerals, semiconductors, and now I guess man-made or manufactured diamonds, right? Right, and a bunch of other things, right? That China has control, has control over certain resources, man. The Lord's raising up these nations, to go to war with each other, man. To ultimately fulfill His purpose, right, and Slaki, brother, go ahead.
Yahweh Shaphat.
Yeah. How was judgment that the valley of Jehoshaphat, man? Just like you heard that Elamite, the Brits, man, those Edomite Britons, they're not gonna look westward, across the Atlantic. They have to focus their attention eastward because why? Russia about to attack, man. The Lord's gonna drag them to the valley of Jehoshaphat, man. Let's get that precept.
You're gonna plead with all nations.
All right, Joel 3 verse 2. Let's get that in the blue letter. All right. It says here, for, all right. So Joel chapter 3 verse 2. It says here, I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, meaning Yahweh's judgment, and I will plead with them for their be them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right? So the Lord, man, when it says plead, right,
Okay.
that doesn't mean he's gonna beg. No. It means you're gonna find out he's gonna judge them, man. It's gonna go in the word shapatyum or shapat.
Strong's H 8199. Shaphat.
Shapat, right? To judge, govern, vindicate, punish, man. He gonna punish these nations for what they did to the nation of Israel, man. Right? Although the Lord allowed them, to punish, Israel, the 12 tribes, right? The Lord is also gonna punish them back. Why? Because the Lord's a balanced power, man. Is going to come to a time where he's going to gather all them, to punish them, and once they go into World War III, and once they implement this RFID microchip, right, they're going to fire these nukes, man. To Babylon the Great, the elect are get beamed up, Lord willing, we are part of the elect, right? They get the new spiritual bodies, and then they're gonna return with Yahweh Shai leading at the forefront, man, and we're gonna fuck up and destroy all these nations, man. And put them in captivity, man. And then that's when Israel is going to be established. Right? Right? What has the damn devil been doing this whole time, right? Book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 2 states, and they covered fields and take them by violence and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage, right? The Moab. Man. We know the nation of Esau, man. Carved off Jake, through ships, man, with chattel slavery, pertaining to the curses of Deuteronomy 28, right? Right, and Israel we had to suffer through that captivity because we sinned against the Lord. But Esau also has been screwing over the other nations, right? The opium wars in China, the colonization of India for like 200 years, man. These other nations they still pissed off at Esau for that, right? Right, and these people they're ready to sink their teeth in these damn devils, right? And these Russian Edomites, man. Man, that's the Egyptian versus the Egyptian on a global scale, right? They're not down with the NATO and the EU. They're not down with that new world order agenda, man. They're gonna have their own RFID microchip, right? Right, but ultimately, and the Lord, made them separate, Russia, Gog and Magog, right?
And the brothers had did a video on people that take that MOTB, man. They gonna have blisters all over. They gonna have blisters and stuff on their hands, and that's in the scriptures. And the brother South Carolina brought that out. How like you gonna know who got that chip because they gonna have blisters and stuff on their hand.
That's right. I don't know if you're talking about the same video where the brother from South Carolina, because the Elder Apostle Tahar, right? He actually featured was that Elder Menachem Ba?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Elder Apostle Tahar, he actually featured the Elder Menachem Ba video, and the Elder Menachem Ba, he actually covered a testimony of this vision that this one Jake had about who took the mark of the beast, right? And the one that took that mark, right? You know what I'm talking about? They actually
That's the video, right?
they had that blister when they took the mark because they had that blister from the incision, right? Because
Yep.
it reacted to their skin, to their or their body's trying to reject it. Hence why they get that blister, right? Because what they put in their skin is literally fucking evil, right? Right, so these are the times that we're living in, man. Like expect all these things. They about to come to pass, right? Right, right. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. He about to destroy these nations, man. Man, that the hammer of the whole earth is about to be broken, and we about to get that. How is the hammer of the All right, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 23. It says here, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations, right? And although he was talking about the UK, man, America, man, is going to get to the point where they're not going to be able to do shit, right? Right, and that's when these other nations, right, including the UK, are going to turn on America, aka Babylon the Great, and fire the nuclear missiles off them because another brother, he had a vision of these ships surrounding America, right, and once these ships surrounded America, they fired off they basically fired off these nuclear missiles and basically nuked the shit out of America, which is prophesied in the book of Revelation. Right. So all these things, man, they're gonna come to pass. Right. Right. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? How long to him that laid himself with thick clay? And the word thick clay goes into the Hebrew word ibotnium, which means what? Depth. So these other nations, man, they have a lot of shit to pay for, man. Speaking of the nation of Esau, man, Babylon the Great, America, the UK, NATO, man, the EU, man, all these motherfuckers, man, these Edomite nations, right? The 10 horns, speaking of the beast, right, they all gonna pay, man, and they will real soon. The book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 7 says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They have eat thy bread and have laid a wound under thee. There is no understanding in him, right, man? And Esau, Edom, his wisdom is starting to vanish quickly, man. Because he's running out of time, he about to come down with that great wrath because he's in desperation mode, and that's why you see Caesar Nero, right, DJ Trump pushing all these policies, leading up to the implementation of the MOTB, right, that RFID micro C hip. Right. So like we've been telling you, Israelites, that know about this truth, man, repent because the kingdom of heaven is at hand, right? So with that, right, unless you brothers have any more precepts, I feel like we should end off the lesson right here.
God.
All right, so with that, Lord willing, this video was this lesson was edifying to you, Akim, and if you Akwath, and with that, we have to say, call Halayim La, Abanawa, Yahweh,
Hawa,
Ba'ashem,
Hashem,
Yahweh Shai,
Look,
Shai,
Ba'ashem,
Hashem,
look at that.
Rakakadash.
All right, double honors and respect to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. All right, all right. All right, peace and salutations, to the Lord's elect, the hopeful in the 1/3, your brother Salah.
But he was out.
Yeah. And with that, we have to say Shalom.